Hey everybody, the old captain here, and I'm going to be reviewing my friend Bernard Chapin's Women, Theory and Practice. You can find this on Amazon. It's actually quite an old book. Bern wrote this. That's one of the reasons I really respect and like about it, is he wrote this in 2007. Well, it was published in 2007, so he was probably writing it damn well near a decade ago. And Bern's a little bit older than me, but to have this insight, to come out with a book like this, shows you kind of how truly ahead of the curve he was. It's the same time I published my first book, Behind the Housing Crash. And you have to remember, when you're younger, you don't have the age or the wisdom that you do today. I mean, this is almost a decade old. So he had these observations and epiphanies well before the average man in America did. Another thing I like about it is, unlike pretty much the entire online MGTOW community, which I call the Virgin Towels, as opposed to the practitioners, the ones actually driving motorcycles doing their own thing, Bern has experience, and this is chock full of personal anecdotes, stories that are not only entertaining but provide the lesson, produce the moral of the story that Bern is trying to make. And a lot of them are just him on the battlefield going out and getting his ass kicked by different women. There's one excerpt in here, I'm not going to read it, I'm just going to tell you about it. Where him and his boys, they're in Chicago, and before they go out to hit on girls, they were upfront about it. They didn't want to go to a bar, they didn't want to go to a nightclub, they didn't want to party, which is the false pretenses by which they go get girls. They said, we are out here to get women. And they would get together and form a circle, and I don't know exactly how the cadence went, but they all started yelling and saying work at different tones, like work, 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 because they knew that going out and getting a girl on a date was going to be work that night. It was work. So these guys were definitely ahead of their peers, ahead of their contemporaries. And what I want to do is read just a couple excerpts, because I think one of the best aspects of this book is Bern's writing. I mean, Bern he's already very well spoken, but this is what happens when a guy sits down and writes and polishes it. Many women, especially those who mistake spin for fact, are quick to experience what I call a Tyson awakening upon entering the workforce. Any pre-fight swagger and bluster they once had is promptly dispelled after absorbing a few combinations. A couple of uppercuts and jabs cause propaganda to intersect with reality, and the results are never pretty. Their dreams become inverted, and the knockout they expect turns out to be their own. No scorecards of judges need to be consulted, and the outcome of the theoretical prize fight is disorientation, disillusion, and bitterness. Work proves to be venture fraught with work. That's just great. Right there. Work proves to be a venture fraught with work. As opposed, one festooned with glorification, heraldry, and the exponential rise of one's ego. I mean, that's just a masterpiece sentence right there. They distance between who they are and who they fantasize themselves to be is vaster than ever anticipated. So that's a good, and it's just full of these. I'm just going to read you a couple of them. Oh, do I want to? Yeah, we'll go on that one. Overall, in the context of history, women's artificially elevated status is unprecedented. They have been placed upon a pedestal for no coherent reason, and certainly none that has any correlation with their past achievements or future promise. Our nation so favors women that America has become a land of ironclad female privilege. These privileges have been codified into law and have been branded upon our psyches. Our media and government seem to exist solely for the purposes of boosting the morale and self-esteem of women. The belief that government should have an equal regard for rights of all citizens has now become a sign of misogyny and racism. As of yet, we do not live in a matriarchy, but we further move in that direction with each passing day. What can be said is that we now live in a society more matriarchal than is patriarchal. Another excerpt. Why PC Nicks devote themselves to their novel religion is not always clear. Many do so out of a need to conform, but most adopt the stances they do as a means to feel self-righteous and also to feel as if they have some control over a world they will never understand. Their deconstruction and reconstruction of society psychologically satisfies them as it replaces a life they find detestable. Spinning yarns of conspiracy and accusing others of thought crimes fulfills them. They become morally elevated but demean everyone else in the process. They talk much of diversity yet fail to believe in it. Diversity to them is celebrating those who hold similar opinions. I mean, there's just so many. I don't know if I'm going to read all of them. I just kind of like, geez, Bern, you're zinging it. But theirs is a type of happiness that should be quarantined. Transmitting it to others should be considered a felony. Their desire for emulation is transparent and represents their attempt to normalize themselves. They hope to one day walk amongst clones, and then and only then will their malignancy be unnoticeable. And he's talking about social justice warriors. 10 years before well, not 10 years, but certainly 5 years before it became a huge thing. Just bear with me. I mean, you could get this on Amazon. Now I'll let that one go. And this is just the droll humor of Bernard. This is where he's walking back with a girl he was dating in Chicago. Our first skirmish occurred after Thursday night dinner as we strolled down Belmont Avenue together in the direction of her apartment. I eagerly anticipated the AC/DC moments which we would soon be having in her bedroom. My mood was euphoric, so it must have struck her as a good time in which to start an argument. Oh, where did it go? Did I mark this with my finger? Yeah, I did. Okay, and this right here, this paragraph alone will help tons of millions of American women around the Western world. With the boundaries between the sexes being steadily eroded and their wisdom of past disavowed, wraithful women are more prevalent in our culture than ever before. Part confused, part depressed, and part dominatrix, these ladies can be found sulking about the landscape in our schools, businesses, streets, and shopping malls. The mega maintenance female is one who self-destructs at the end of the day should the proper homage not be paid for her. Indigenous to her character is the need to blame external forces, generally men, for the cursedness of her daily trials. When the environment inflames her, as it so often does with every unexpected raindrop or pothole, the fool sharing her bed soon becomes the receptacle for her angst. And then I got one more out. This is the You know what? I'm going to let you read. I'm going to whet your appetite, and you can find and learn about the complement test. I'm not going to plagiarize Bern that much there. So, anyway, general overall review. This is an outstanding book. It is. I'm not saying this like I'm saying this is the best assessment of American and to a large extent Western women I have ever read. Now, of course, we've certainly read a ton of articles and things on the web and the internet and ROK and an answer and all this other stuff. But if you're looking for a book, one piece of literature, it's not terribly thick, that succinctly describes women in the United States in terms of politics, economics, but above all else, psychology. This is the one. This is absolutely mandatory reading for any young man out there. Drawbacks, though, there's a couple, and nothing, I'm just warning you, so, no book is perfect, but just so you want to. One, Bern's vocabulary. Bern has to remember he's got an IQ of probably 136,000, and not everybody is at his command of the English language. The words he was using, seriously, every other page I had to look up a new word, and soon I just stopped giving up, because I'm like, he's either doing this on purpose or he actually uses these words. So it's almost too well written to the point that's like, I don't know what that word means, and I'm not going to have time to look it up. Chapters 3 through 7 were a little bit too verbose for me. It's like, yes, Bern, got the point. Come on, move on, let's go here. But then again, I'm an impatient man, and I have the drawback of knowing a lot of the stuff that he was going to fit. Still, I think he kind of belabored some points, and it was unnecessarily long in some of those chapters. But this, unfortunately, leads to probably the biggest drawback of the book, and that is, right now, after 10 years of the Manosphere, a lot of guys already know what's in that book, either through intuition, experience, or reading up on the internet, joining forums, reading some of Rush's book, reading my books, reading The Rational Male. This has been, if you're a veteran of the Manosphere, it's probably not going to do you any good. You'll get some laughs, you'll get some guffaws, you have some insights, there's a couple things I picked up, but you kind of already know it. However, and I wish Bern was more of an entrepreneur, I wish he had some hustle. He's going to yell at me for that, because this book, however, does have two great markets. One, for any young man who is like 14 or maybe 15 or 16, he's got to read that book. I would put it in the hands of every young man just like I would Worthless. Before they get, like kind of post-puberty but not too old because otherwise you're going to get crazy. But that is a book that every young man has to read if they have not already been exposed. So if you're a father and you can't tell the kid the truth because, wifey's going to divorce you, you get him that book, or you send me some money to secretly mail him the book, okay? So it's for people who have never been exposed to the truth about women. The other, and much larger, and much more profitable, and the one that I think that would put Bern into millionaire territory, is that it's for women. I kept reading, I'm like, Bern is not a mean man. He's a direct man. He's an honest man, and I've said this before, he has a bigger heart and more patience than I do. And he is really actually trying to help women in this. Now, yes, he's explaining men, but the way that this book is not only written, but laid out and structured, is he is trying to tell women that they've been lied to this entire time and expose those lies. And I was thinking, yes, this is going to benefit men. It will explain what they're facing, and certainly would have saved all of us elder gentlemen in the manosphere tons of headache and pain. But this would actually solve the problems of millions of American women. It would make so many more women happy if they read this and realized, holy shit, this is what men think, this is how it is. He puts a huge emphasis on biology and nature, because that's what it is. And he laughs, and that doesn't laugh or mock or ridicule, but points out the how ludicrous it is for women to think that, oh yeah, the sexes are the exact same. Oh yeah, I should become a doctor, and I can have children at 45, and all this other. He tries to actually save them. The irony, which he's fully aware of, and he references it several times, is that to get a woman to read this is nearly impossible. Because as any display says, women are, especially when given the choice of warm fuzzy lies that Oprah's going to tell you, the self-help books, and he even cites Where's My Tiara and How to Be a Super Bitch. He actually read these books and watched a bunch of Oprah. I mean, he did research. It was painful. All these lies that make you feel good and deny you responsibility of your own actions versus taking a very harsh pill where you have to admit you've been wrong, you've been lied to, and your current place in life is largely due to your own decisions. And that you are completely wrong about men and women, and that you should change. And if you at least entertain that, you would make some advances in life, huge strides, if you just entertain it and read through it and hear the guy out. So I think, even though this thing is almost 10 years old, I think Bern should go on another marketing campaign and start advertising this on women's sites, or Red Pill, or not Red Pill Reddit, but the Red Pill for not feminism, but women in dating or whatever. That book is not. That's not who this book is going to help out the most. It will help out young men or men who don't know any better. That book is for women. And fuck Oprah. That book should outsell every one of Oprah's book, because it's the one that will deprogram all the brainwashing these girls got from that tripe and reprogram in how the real world works. And that'd be a harsh pill to swallow, as I said, but there'd be a lot happier women in the long run if they did. So anyway, it's certainly worth picking up. If you like reading, go ahead and read it, because Bern, with his words, is just amazing. He's a master with the words, almost too good of a master. But when it comes to who it's going to benefit practically, absolutely, men who don't know any better, young boys, and practically every fucking woman who isn't in a World War II generation is going to benefit from that book. But that's if you don't mind being told the truth, and I can actually tolerate not being lied to for an entire day. Basically, do you cry yourself to sleep, ladies? That's the book. That's the book that will stop the crying every night. Anyway, best of luck. Doodles.